And welcome everyone to our LinkedIn Live on this Tuesday evening. This is how to really break through in 2021. And I have some amazing guests with me here tonight, starting with Mr. David Breyer. I'm going to ask everyone to do their own introductions. We also have Alyssa and we have Joshua. They're going to do their own introductions while I share this link so we could make sure that everyone is there.
I would like to propose an alternative to that. I think that we should do each other's introductions. So I will do, since I know Alyssa better than Joshua, and Alyssa does not know Joshua. She can completely make up whatever she's going to say.
That will be fun.
That will be very, very fun. And so the thing is so Alyssa actually is she's was the youngest in all the business people that recently graduated from the Brand Invention Masterclass. But she was great because we had a very big spectrum. But she has this youthful zest. She has a wonderful amount of impatience. She wants to get a lot done like right now. And I love that. And it was very cool and fun to deal with that. She also has a military background. I don't know all the specifics, so I can make up stuff, but I probably would be so off base I won't even go there. Alyssa might do it, but how would you describe the company that you work at, Alyssa?
My civilian job? Is that what? Yeah. Oh, okay. So I work for Gruno, which is a mechanical contractor. We're based out of Oak Creek, Wisconsin, which is a suburb of Milwaukee. And so Gruno does all sorts of things related to mechanical contracting. So we do HVAC, plumbing. We have a large metals group, and then we have an underground. We have a large service area, and then we also have a whole bunch of fire protection. It's probably, well, I mean, it's a good portion of our business. And so our headquarters is in Oak Creek, and then we have branch offices in Youngstown, Ohio, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Indianapolis, and Orlando. And we also just opened up our newest branch in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
So you see, she's kind of like I'm going to call her a firecracker. She's kind of like a firecracker. She's like always explosive, always filled with energy, and just you just want to just respect the fact you got some energy right there. So That's my introduction of Alyssa. So Alyssa, over to you to introduce that other dude with the hypnotic eyes and the wild hair.
This is Joshua Desha. I don't even know how to pronounce your last name. I'm sorry. Desha.
You did a really good job, though. That was really close.
I just recently became acquainted with Joshua. I briefly looked at his LinkedIn, and I saw that you are also, like a branding expert. So I'm very interested to hear what you have to say during this LinkedIn Live.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to listening to you because you're automatically the most intelligent person on this screen right now. I know that you are, but that doesn't say much because David and what are you going to do? I'm going to introduce David Breyer like fire, not David Brier like beer. David is the chief gravity defier for DBD International, and he is he is the most intelligent and innovative marketer in the world right now. LinkedIn, obviously, but in the world, David, when he talks, it's like E.F. Hutton. Businesses listen. So David Breyer, everybody, give him a round of applause.
Wow, that was freaking awesome. Roger, I hope that you've got some applause tracks or something, because that was epic. Epic.
It was epic. I have to admit.
It was freaking epic. I mean, here's what I love. Here's what I love about the whole thing with Josh is that it's like he can sometimes just spew these pearls of wondrousness. And then if that doesn't work, you can just look at his hair and be astonished, right? And if that doesn't work, you look into his eyes because they're kind of like these silvery look. Oh, that's ridiculous. And so, so he's got this kind of like, he's like this triple threat of like, okay, if I don't like that, I can go to this. If I don't like that, he's the human equivalent of a department store.
Yeah.
Josh, I'm going to ask you to please share the link now to your group.
I've already done mine. Bam.
Hold on.
Wow. Right.
Hold on. I'm actually going to do that right now as y'all talk. Please join us live.
And Alyssa,
Sounded like
oh yeah.
I think I sounded like what's his name from who was it? Musburger. Joining us live.
Brett Musburger. So David, while Alyssa and Joshua are sharing the links, I would love if you could spend a few minutes and tell people. This is one of the breakthroughs for 2021. Tell people what a carousel is. And why it's important.
Okay. So here's a nugget for those of you that kind of like, oh, I want to get in and out really fast, and you have the attention span of a chiclet. That's like the little gum that you take and spit out. So because its flavor lasts for about 4 seconds. Here's the basic thing: is that there's something that is probably getting the most amount of engagement on LinkedIn right now, are called carousels. They start out, what you're uploading is a PDF, but what people see on LinkedIn, it's when you see something that has multiple pages, and you can kind of, if you're on a mobile device, you could swipe with your finger, or with your mouse, you click and it moves and moves and moves, and you could do a lot. It's definitely gets, what I'm seeing is definitely getting the highest amount of engagement. A few people, very few, I mean, like probably less than 2 or 3 are actually doing it well. Most are putting way too much text, and others are just, their design sucks. The shit's ugly. Okay, I mean, let's call a spade a spade. It's like I don't care that it's your baby, but that third eye and that sort of little horn coming out the scalp, it kind of throws a curve, throws a wrench. So you want to, with the thing with those is you got to do them brief. It's like they're like ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. It's pacing, brief, short, and good looking. Make it good looking. Don't junk it up. If in doubt, do less. That's what I will tell you.
And what's the objective of the carousel? Are you trying to tell a story?
You're providing value. You're educating. If you're doing a pitch, don't do it. I and others will reject you. Okay, you're offering value. You're educating. You're informing. You're providing some insight. My metric for when I'm doing a carousel is, will the person by the end of it go, huh, I learned something. That was pretty awesome. If you don't have that, wow, I learned something. I just shed new light. It could be shedding new light on an old topic, or it could be introducing something brand new. But if you don't provide that level of, wow, I didn't see that, I didn't know that, then you're off the mark. You're off the mark. Do more homework.
Great.
Okay.
Josh, I'm going to move over to you, then Alyssa, then we're going to bring it back to David. But I thought you put out a great post today about this event, and you stuck some nuggets right in that post. You talked about things that you're going to need. List out what didn't work this year. Eliminate those items and replace them with huge changes. So talk a little bit about that post and just get us primed up for what you would like to talk about tonight and how you're going to break through and help people break through in 2021.
Yeah, I mean, the term I used was transformative, right? Because I think that 2020 has been transformative, to say the least.
That's one word for it.
Hey, we're all about positivity tonight, right? I think that along those lines, in order to transformative change we're not talking about little small steps here. How long have we learned in business and been taught in business? It's just one step at a time, baby steps. The way that 2021 or 2020 has been, baby steps won't work in 2021. If you're going to take baby steps, you will be demolished, because the game across the board in business and heck in life, it's changed completely. Can you imagine in your personal life? I'm married, I have 4 kids. If I took little baby steps this year, what the hell? No. I mean, my spouse, my kids, my friends deserve like a bam. They deserve transformative change and transformative ways of thinking, and our businesses do too. And by the way, lastly, if you know of a Zoom kind of stock, that kind of thing for 2021, do it now, buy it now, because we're not seeing baby steps anymore. We're seeing giant change. We're seeing transformative change in careers and in our personal lives. And if we're not seeing that, you're going to be left behind. And that's what I think people need to understand, that this is not a year for baby steps. This is a year for ginormous jumps and leaps into the beyond, and understanding that fear is irrational. And once we do that, I think this is going to be a really kick-ass year.
Agreed.
So well said, Joshua. Alyssa, you just completed David Breyer's 9-week brand intervention masterclass. I believe you were the youngest one in the class. Not that that matters. I think you have an advantage. But talk a little bit about what that program was like for you over those 9 weeks, and how you're going to take some of those learnings and apply them into 2021.
Okay. So I started, I saw David had, I was so excited to join David's class, because I had seen, different things about him on LinkedIn before, and the idea that I'd be able to actually talk with him in person was like just so exciting for me, because I knew that it was the right thing to do. Like, I don't know. I mean, I guess I don't know why, but it was just like, okay, I get a 9 weeks with this guy. Yes, absolutely. And so, it was honestly like such a good decision, because it wasn't just like in my professional life, but in my personal life, because it was as if like David was just this awesome cheerleader. And he, anytime that I had any problems, he was literally a phone call away. And actually sometimes I'm not going to use the word pester David, but it was like, I would say something and he would be like, listen, you need to call me back right now. And it was, and it was just this, it was really refreshing. And it was just awesome. So it was from start to finish. I felt supported. I felt if I ever had any problems, I got like instant, feedback. And it was certainly, I relatively recently graduated from college, and it did really feel like like I was talking with a college professor. And so, the experience was awesome. I learned so much. So I am the marketing person for my company. And I just wanted to learn more. So I feel like I'm always wanting to learn and grow with whatever I'm doing. And so, just having like literally, having the ear of someone who is on the New York Times bestseller list for marketing, like who better person to learn from than someone who has, who has all of that. So, as far as applying it to 2021, everything, I mean, oh my gosh, where to start? But trying not to do the baby steps, but, definitely recognizing that, sometimes it all just depends on what the company's goals are, and that kind of thing. So, but definitely, so construction is just kind of interesting in that there are a whole lot of things that I personally would love to change about it, or that I would personally love to grow. So, I don't have any like specifics, but so, I mean, what is it, David? 66? Uh-oh. Are there 66 differentiators? Is that what it is?
Well, it's actually 69. There's 69. If you look at, there's 23 core differentiators, and if you actually look at it, applying each of them to each of the 3 phases of branding, the 3 phases, so that it comes out to 69, just shy of 70 different differentiators that you can use at any point in time, from branding to sales to negotiating. It hits on all fronts.
Yeah. So, especially with different areas in our business, I'm looking to just apply so many things that happen in the course to what we're going to do moving forward, especially with our service group, especially with that last third that a lot of businesses don't apply to the branding. I think that's a huge area of opportunity. So yeah, I'm just excited. I'm super excited for 2021.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So
Love it.
over to you, David Breyer. Talk about what you want to do and what you're going to bring into 2021 for yourself and your clients. And let's light this up.
Sure. Well, first of all, because I really want to deliver on what we're basically presented this as, basically how to break through in 2021. And I'm very, very pumped. 2021 is going to be insane. The last quarter of 2020 is already insane. I'm doing more per hour than I usually. I've never been a slacker, but I'm getting normally done more per hour than usually in about 3 or 4, and competently, not sloppily. But here's the thing that I find that's very, very interesting and important, because some people are really going into unknown territory. Here's what I'm seeing. There's some industries that have been decimated. We know that. And they've got a hard road back, but they've got to be innovative. And sometimes when you talk about being innovative, that equates to risk. And what I remind people of, I live it myself with every project, with every client, as well as my own business. But what I think every entrepreneur needs to realize is this: in order to succeed, we must grow. In order to grow, that means expanding into new territory. Whenever you're expanding into new territory, there are unknowns. And if there are unknowns, you're going to make some mistakes. And as long as you're paying attention, okay, that didn't work. Do this. Oh, good, that worked. So there's not a problem with risk if you're attentive and if you're accountable. So that whole factor, to me, wherever anybody is in business right now, and specifically going into 2021, it's like you got to go, okay, there's going to be risk, but risk is not a problem. Risk is part of the game. It's kind of like what you want to go into on a basketball court and never encounter a foul. There's going to be a foul. That's not the end of the world, right? So, or someone steals the ball. Is that the end of the world? It is if you decide it is. It's like, damn, I could do nothing about it. BS. Steal the ball back. So anyway, that's the whole thing. Is like growth involves new territory. New territory involves unknowns and risk is fine. It's part of the thing. Just know that it's part of growth. And if you didn't have risk, if you didn't have growth, that means you're stagnant. That means you're going to be outperformed and outsmarted by your competition. Life and business doesn't stand still. So for me, that is the ultimate takeaway. If anybody who's watching this and listening to this does not look into 2021 with the idea, where can I grow? I am going to encounter things I don't know, and I'm going to own them. I'm going to be super fast to get up to speed. Approach it from that point, and you will crush it. You will expand. That's just the way it's going to be. So that's an enormous one for me for 2021.
Excellent. Joshua, let's talk about some of these businesses that David mentioned that were decimated: restaurants, hospitality. What advice would you give to those small business owners, especially, who are really struggling, not only to make a paycheck, but to keep their business alive? How do you reinvent? How do you differentiate in this climate when the government is actually interfering with, opening your store?
Yeah. So I'll answer this by saying this, that when I first got into business, I thought we were supposed to come up with all these brilliant new ideas that were new, that we only knew, right? We're going to be inventive. And I learned really quickly that the most successful people copy the shit out of really successful people. Excuse my French. Right? They do.
I studied that French fluently in school, actually, growing up. So I'm good with. I actually understood what you were saying.
Well, New Yorker, I'm being very tame, right? You should hear our calls when we're not here.
Or before we went live.
Well, again, let's get our other buddy Joshua on, and then we'll have a real fun. No, I would say this to people out there struggling, by the way. First, reach out to other people in your community. If you're a restaurateur, reach out to others and make sure that you have a community of support. By the way, the Chamber of Commerce, and I love Chambers of Commerce, they don't work for this because not everybody knows what you're going through. Make sure that you're communing with people who know what you're going through. But the other thing is, study the marketplace, study the big chains. I know that we don't want to be big chains. We all want to be different. And I'm in Austin. We're all foodies. Everybody loves the local diner instead of the chain. But copy and steal from the chains of what they're doing in order to make it. Because here's the deal. It's not money, by the way, that's making some restaurants work and others not. It's their ability to look into 2021 and say, okay, I can't afford to have 15 greeters on my payroll. So you know what? I'm gonna have goofy little iPads at each one of my tables. And so the point is, if you are in one of those businesses, find a community and steal what's successful from other people. We tend to look, I think during times of great prosperity, we start to think about innovation and say, how can I innovate and be real and be me and do something that no one else is doing? During times of struggle, it's called holding on tight so that you don't sink, and then figuring out what is it that he or she is doing that I can do myself. Because there are restaurants that are successful right now. There are chains and groups that are doing really good stuff. But what they've all done is that they've prepared for it. If you haven't prepared for it, then copy what they have done and then move forward. Because right now is not the time to be getting egotistical when it comes to how I should be doing business or what I should be doing. If this is your business and this is what you care about, don't be immoral, don't be unethical, but you see an idea, you go with that idea, and then wait till prosperity comes back to start, worrying about standing out and being different. Right now, it's about surviving.
Excellent, Joshua. Alyssa, Joshua talked about being prepared. Tell us from your background how you prepared for anything, including what we're going through today, which no one could have prepared for.
Could you ask a little bit more?
If you could tell us how, in your background from your previous life, you thought about preparing for the future, basically to expect the unexpected, if you will.
Okay. So for me, I actually have 3 kids. And one of the things that I've noticed is if I just sort of go by the seat of my pants in the morning, I know that the rest of my day is going to be awful because I'm rushing, I'm trying to do all these things all at the same time in the morning, and it's horrible, right? So I'm just frazzled the rest of the day. If I know the night before I'm laying clothes, I'm getting lunches together, I'm doing all that because I know that the next day is coming, right? The next day we're all going to school. The next day we're going to daycare. We're doing all that. My day is so much better. So I think just from personal experience, if I'm preparing and if I'm doing that, if I'm anticipating what's happening the next day, or, if for us, for this conversation, for the next year is coming, right? 2021 is right around the corner. And, if for whatever that looks like in your business, if you know, okay, well, this thing is coming and it's coming at me like a freight train, and XYZ is happening, do it now, right? Do it yesterday, do it, just to be able to be a friend to yourself, right? Be a friend to your future self. The current friend might be, the current self might be it might suck, right? Okay, I would much rather just go sit on the couch, eat some Oreos. I don't want to do any of that, right? But I know that, okay, get my butt off the couch and go do it now because I'm going to thank myself tomorrow for it.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to mention, and this is one tip I would like to give everyone, only because, not that I could predict the future, but I've been through this myself. I know David's been through it as well. If you're a solopreneur, an entrepreneur, it doesn't really matter what industry you're in. Think about writing a book. Think about writing a book, because when you write a book, not only do you do a lot of soul searching through the process, but out on the other end becomes a piece of creation that came from you, came from all your learnings. And now it's like a business card on steroids. People will remember you. They will look at you as a leader within your industry if you have a book. And David, I'd like to have you talk about that a little bit, and how writing a book can potentially be a game changer for people. And it, like you said earlier, you're not going to go anywhere without learning something new, or as Joshua said, preparing, for the future. Writing a book is new territory for a lot of people, but it's not really as hard as you would think. So David, talk about your experience with it, what it did for you, your career, and how it literally made a huge impact on where you are today.
Well, I'm gonna break it down even more granularly, just so that it's understood. The best business people in the world, the best leaders, the best artists, the best speakers and technicians of any sort, basically are those that seek out answers. They don't get complacent. They don't rest on their laurels. And so those that actually move things forward they're looking for new ways, better ways, smarter ways. So that means that any forward progress is founded on what? An idea, a good idea, a better idea, a simpler idea, a more streamlined idea, an idea that eliminates, since Joshua opened up the table for curse words, eliminates the bullshit. I wasn't going to use the word bullshit, but since Joshua opened the door, it's all on him. And that's the only reason that I use the word bullshit 3 times in the last 60 seconds. And so I just want to say, it's like, I take full responsibility for the fact that Joshua said the word shit earlier. But getting back to the point.
It's a good thing we're not saying, oh, never mind.
But the point is so if you understand, you go, okay, there's an idea. And to that point, it's like, what is a book but either an idea really fleshed out, or a series of related ideas that help improve an area. And so that's the basic thing. What is TED Talks other than someone sharing an idea over the course of 18 minutes? What is a Gary Vee post other than an idea where he might have helped somebody or shed light on something? So you look at any of these people that we go, wow, would love to be them, would love to be them. I look at my buddy Damon John, right? It's like, in each of these people, what they did at a certain point, they realized a book is one of those keepsake things. It is to me, it's the ultimate scalable calling card. Anyone around the world, 24/7, 365, can open up my book and read it, or order my book, or learn more. And so that for me was a major game changer, because in the eyes of people, if you do have something valuable to offer the world, if you haven't looked at a book, that is definitely a game changer. But don't be a moron, meaning don't do it like everyone else. Don't do it half-ass. Don't do, okay, this is me saying what's already been said 1,000 times, and I'm not going to add anything more into it. I'm just going to go blah, 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 blah. People don't need a freaking echo, okay? They don't need, so you've got to go, how am I going to do it better? How am I going to do it differently? And that applies to everything. It applies to sales. It applies to your career. It applies to, like, just one simple example. Just because differentiation is a vital part of it. It applies to a book as well as anything else. It's like one thing that always amazes me. I'll have people who newly get a ton of like, hey, would love to connect with you, da 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 da. And when I respond, what do? I go, and not everybody knows this, I'll go on my LinkedIn, on my mobile device, because it's not going to work on your desktop. I will respond, and I'll leave them an audio message on LinkedIn and say, and they'll make it fun and playful and whatever like that. But people are like, holy shit. There it is again. It's on Josh. Holy shit.
Son of a bitch.
I know.
Okay, we have to keep it clean for the children.
You asswipe you. All right. So the thing is, but leave it. But just that one point alone, leaving a message. People go, that was my first time I ever had anybody do that. So you got to use differentiation in everything. If it's going to be a book, do it differently. Do it in a way that elevates, challenge the norm. And in 2021, as well as right now, if you're not challenging the norm, you are falling behind. Period.
So can I real quick before you move on, Roger? David,
Absolutely.
You used one of my very favorite lessons. It's something that I try to teach everybody. You said it a little bit differently, but it's the same thing. In everything we do, and the book thing is 100% accurate. How can I do this better? So people that are watching right now that have been coached for me by sales understand that everything I go into, every situation, every sales situation, every life situation, I've gotten to this point where the question is, how can I do this better? And can you imagine what would happen if everyone watching here, everyone who has a business, everyone has a side gig and they want it to be their main thing, everyone who has a job that they love, everyone has a spouse and kids. What if you asked that before you did anything? How can I do this better? I'm going to take my wife on a date. How can I do this better? I'm going to make sure that I go have fun and play with my kids. How can I do this better? I'm going to go do this proposal at work. How can I do this better? Imagine the success that those restaurateurs would have right now before they go into work tomorrow. How can I do this better? It's brilliant. And when you can do that, you don't have to be a genius at anything to ask yourself that question and understand the power that comes from asking how you can do it better.
And I think everybody listening to this, if they just took that advice right there, and if you're listening to it tonight, apply that tomorrow. Take at least 5 things that you do every day, normal things. How can I do it better? How can I answer the phone better? How can I talk to people better? How can I make this Zoom call better? How can I service this person better? How can I deliver better? How can you do that? Take at least 5 things tomorrow. See how your day changes. It's going to be dramatic. And you do that every freaking day, it compounds.
I love that so much. And look, you're right. If everyone thought about that and started applying that to their world, how much better would everything be? And I love taking it down to the granular level, right? So whether you're in a meeting or whether you're sending an email or whether you're on a phone call, and Josh, I like that as your next book. How can you do it better? It's a great title.
Yeah.
But honestly, that is a piece of gold that you just dropped here. So thank you for that. Alyssa, what do you think about that?
I think that's amazing. I'm just like because I think people get caught up, right? And it's not just like in work, but in life too, right? I feel like people generally aren't assholes, right? I really want to find the good in people.
Instant street cred. I love that.
Now we need Roger to curse, and then we're good.
It's not happening.
Not first one, Roger. But I think that it's not that they're intentionally trying to be cruel or intentionally trying to be mean. I think you just sort of get caught up in all these things that you have to do, and it's like there is never enough time in the day, and it's I like that it's intentional, right? So it's okay, I have these 5 things. I'm a huge fan of lists, right? So I feel like that would be good. Okay, well, now I check that off. That was a great meeting or whatever. But I really like the idea of, okay, well, today, it's being present in the moment and having intentional things that you're doing better daily. I love it. I love it, Joshua.
Awesome. I just want to touch on one thing.
One thing I warned. I see that you said you love it, Joshua, but I warned Alyssa earlier prior to the recording that do not look into Joshua's eyes.
It's why I have these glasses on.
He has this sort of hypnotic control. It's scary. And so I warned her. I said, you can look at his cheek. You can look at the tip of his nose. Look at his mustache. but do not look into his eyes, because you just said you love that Joshua, and just be alert, Alyssa. Be alert.
So one more tip on the book idea, and then we can move off of it. From a business side, think about this, folks. When you write a book, it's very similar to an artist writing a piece of music.
Mhm.
That book, those royalties belong to you and your family and your children for the rest of their lives, for the rest of our lives, for the rest of their lives. And look, not that it's a ton of money, but I could tell you firsthand, and David could tell you too, it's nice to get a $200, $300, $400 check every month from your book sales. So think about that. Think about diversification of income. How can you create different areas of income and at the same time become a leader within your industry, or put out a differentiator? I love that. So think about that from a business sense as well. And it's really something I'm passionate about, helping people write books. It's something that I do. And I know what it did for me in my career. It completely changed my career. And I hope people take it to heart for 2021 to think about writing their own book.
So if I can say something on that, I completely agree. What I will say is I'm going to reiterate something that David said just a little bit ago, which is if you're going to do it, don't half-ass it.
Right.
I'm telling you, and you guys know this, how I can walk through the self-help or inspirational section. We don't go to Barnes & Noble anymore, shit. But you can go there, right?
Amazon.
And you can see that, and you're like, I know exactly what this book says.
Yeah.
I can read those things. John Maxwell. I'm sorry if you're watching, Mr. Maxwell, or your organization. I love you, kind of, but it's all the same.
Right? It's so all in. I love that.
Oh,
I love you, kind of.
Yes, you're
let's
so
not-
right, John.
And you know, I think it goes, like, we talk about LinkedIn quite a bit, right? And we're streaming here on LinkedIn. It's the same thing, David, you're talking about posts earlier. You know, when we make a post, don't just put crap, Roger. Don't just put crap out there just to do it because it gets likes and this and that. I think we get to a point where we're so saturated on a LinkedIn or so saturated on Amazon to see these books, and it's all saying the same dang thing, right? It's like, what are we doing? And so I'm going to implore you right now, if you're watching this and you're going to make a book, you're going to write a book, you have it in you, ask that question I asked earlier. How can you do this better? How can you have an idea? Put the idea down. Write out that idea. Have your outline, just like everybody will tell you to write a book, right? And then stop and ask, how can I do this better? How can this be better? Because I am personally tired of seeing really shitty books out there. It's true. I mean, it takes a lot for me to stop and read a book because it's just so busy, and I do Audible and I listen to them. But there's nothing worse than picking up Fanatical Prospecting and listening to it and thinking, this is bullshit. It's all the same that I've ever heard in my entire life. And I just want to read something someday. And that's why, by the way, David's book is so amazing.
David,
right?
If you wouldn't mind, grab your book and show us a little bit of that, because you're right. It is, wow, those are a lot of books. So describe this book. What's the size of that?
I think it's around 9 by 12, and you know, boom, 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 and see, even look at this. So look at this. See, it's like, that's right. David Breyer is like reads right. Brandon DeVention reads the other way. That's right. That's very much
awesome.
by design.
That's awesome.
Okay, and it starts out the first page. The first page. This is the part that I love. The first page starts out with this diagram. I don't know if you can see it. Let's see here if I can see. I'm trying to see it here. All right, what it says is this: how to create a crappy brand in 3 easy steps. And it basically goes over right here, right in the first page, immediately. And then you get into it and you see the stuff. This stuff is big. That's right. This book has been known to cure shyness. That's how powerful it is. But the thing is this. So I show you like this. Boom, 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 boom. right? And look at this, and you know what cracked me up? I actually asked my daughter, who's a millennial. I asked my daughter. There's one chapter I was writing, and I said because she's an entrepreneur, and I said, honey, I said, do you get this? And she reads it, and she goes, yeah, I totally get it. That's awesome. And she goes, but you know what, Dad, you finally get me. And this, by the way, this is the size of the type.
So people like me, I can read it. I can even read this.
Complete. So literally, so I show her this, and she goes, Dad, you finally get me. I said, what are you talking about? She goes, that's like a tweet. I'm like, okay. And then the first person that I actually saw open it, who was like 50 plus, they opened it and they're like, finally. And I'm like, what? Because that's the chapter openers. Okay. That's the chapter openers. So it's all just like, it's like, boom. So what happens is the person says, finally. And I'm like, what? And they go, a book I can read without my cheaters. I mean, look at this. I love this.
You mean like me right now? Hold on. Let me see.
See,
I can read it. I can read it.
It's a great equalizer. Boom. So it's just like, but I'm going to show you my most favorite chapter, and then you'll understand why this book is the way it is. People love this because it's a no BS, zero fluff. There's nothing, no cellular, no like digital cellulite or literary cellulite. There's nothing jiggly in this. Okay, this is one chapter. This is one chapter right here. Okay. A good brand. I mean, why did I put them both on the same page? Because they're two opposite concepts. So it was like, boom, a good brand makes us feel good about what they stand for. A great brand makes us feel good about what we stand for. And that was all you needed to know about that chapter. But that's why this book, it changed people and some people go, have you done an audio version? I'm like, hell no. They're like, yeah, but you have such a good voice. I'm like, I don't give a damn. I said, this is as visual. This immerses you into an experience. That's how I went about tackling it, so it wasn't like anything else. And I've literally told people, some people are like, well, I'm not really sure. I don't know that I want to spend the money. I said, look, buy the freaking hardcover because it has the best production values. And if you don't love it, I'll buy it back from you. And I've never had a person come back to me and say, it fell a little short. No.
David, I'd like you to share one more story on that. Talk about how your story about Damon John, how you connected with him, and then he actually wrote the foreword to your book. But just let people know, because people could tap into their own networks.
Complete.
And, sometimes you just have to think about it. Oh yeah, I met that person. And so I think that's a great story, and will get people thinking as they head into 2021 about some ideas, not necessarily a book, but anything.
It also shows it's how, and what I'm about to tell you, it not is only how Damon John and I became like buddies, and then he wrote the foreword to my book, but also how Claude Silver from VaynerMedia, Gary Vaynerchuk, that's also how we met. It was just an innocent giving. And so I wrote for my Fast Company column an article on Shark Tank, because that was like the one show that my wife and I we'd watch every week, and we would love it. We'd love how the investors and the sharks would compete, right? And they kind of like one would out and negotiate the other, and that's trash, it's a lousy deal, and this and that, the other, da 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 da. And so what happens is, and even the dogs are excited about the story. That's how good the story is. So what happens
dogs love your book.
I write this article, and it's basically the 4 traits that I observed that these successful presenters actually did, the ones who did presentations and got deals. What were the common traits? Within 2 days, Damon John sends this tweet out. The best article ever written on Shark Tank. Right? And I see the tweet, it's in my feed. I'm like, and I apologize, Roger, but holy shit was my response. Okay. And so the thing is I basically was like, whoa. I said, and that's why I immediately responded. And this was maybe 9 years ago. And so I'm like, dude, that's freaking awesome. Thank you so much, Damon. And he responded instantaneously. I could tell at that point he was handling his own interaction with regard to the responses and social media feeds. And so he responds, and I'm like, and I'm thinking all of a sudden, I'm going, wow, I'm in touch with Damon John, because I didn't know him at this point. It's like, ooh, okay. I want to write an article. This is how I went. I want to write an article and I want to interview Damon. That would be awesome. He was born in Brooklyn, raised in Queens. I was born in Brooklyn, raised in Queens. Okay, cool. So I'm like, so I think, come up with an idea. Here's a great headline. That would be, and so I say, but it would also make a cool slogan. So I said, Damon, you deserve and need an amazing slogan. He goes, awesome. Like what? I said, a Damon is a girl's best friend. And he was like, I love it. And so and then we just started to basically, he goes, call me, and that we just built it. He knows that I hustle hard. He obviously hustles hard. But the most amazing quality about Damon, for those that don't know Damon, the most amazing quality, and Damon, if you're listening, this is true. I've told you this before. He never forgets where he came from. He never is like, oh,
thank you for that.
Successful. I'm worth millions. I've sold millions or billions of dollars worth of product, and I'm like now. I will no longer associate with. He doesn't do that. He is as connected and as gracious and as much from the hood as when he started out. So that wonderful, gracious humility is an incredible quality. And I see that actually amongst the best leaders and the best CEOs. I see that quality. But that's the backstory. And then, of course, when I was writing this, I then was like, hey, D, I'd love you to write the forward. And he was like, awesome. That kind of graciousness, that kind of giving. So give freely.
Yeah.
Give freely. That's how Claude and I became. We absolutely adore one another. Claude is amazing. We absolutely love one another to the ends of the earth. We're like brother, sister, or whatever. We're just like family. And it started out with literally me just seeing something and reaching out to her and saying, "Wow, I am so freaking." See, I'm cleaning up my language here. See, I'm so freaking impressed. Freaking impressed. And so, with just the quality of what you stand for, because she wasn't trying to pitch, wasn't trying to put across it. It was just so much from the heart. And I was like, I just thanked her. Sent her a message and just thanked her on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
That's
4 days goes by and she's like, oh my God, thank you so much. She was so down to earth, and I never assume that people who are successful are going to be out of reach or be unaccessible.
And I think that's a great point, David. And I've been fortunate since I was a young guy to be surrounded by some, I guess, famous people, whatever you want to call it. I worked for Clyde Drexler, the NBA star, when I was 19 years old, right? But you learn very quickly that people are people. And you also learn very quickly that if you don't take a leap of faith and follow your instincts, either to reach out to someone, like what happens if you never responded to that tweet to Damon John? You wouldn't have the forward in your book. You wouldn't have the connection. So that's I think another really good point going into 2021. Get out of your comfort zone a little bit. Joshua, I know you're awesome about this. You help people, you coach people to do this every single day. So please give us some additional value on what people could do in 2021, playing off of what David just said, on how they could get out of their comfort zone.
Yeah, so you talk about these successful people. So Clyde Drexler, great example, right? Most successful people will tell you that the most difficult thing about taking the risks they took to become successful was actually just taking the risk. It had nothing to do with the actual act, with the actual jump, with actually putting out the money, whatever it was, whatever the risk was, that the fear there was irrational. Because we know that most of the ideas we have in our minds, unless you're insane, the ideas aren't far-fetched. You have an idea of starting a business. It's not far-fetched. I mean, I'm not sitting here wondering how to build a circus, right? That's not – the ideas that come in my mind are right in my wheelhouse. And the same thing with everybody watching this. The ideas that we have are based upon the talents and the experience we have. Therefore, the stuff we consider risk really isn't a risk. As long as we have the right people in our minds and in our lives, as long as we have the right judgment, and as long as we ask ourselves how we can do this better. And so when we're starting to talk about this stuff, especially for 2021, what I want to tell everybody is this: two things. That, again, the vast majority of time, the fears that we have are amazingly irrational. You think about it. Like when we're kids, we're worried about a monster under our bed, or we're scared of the dark, in our own home. It's irrational. Right? We know there's not a monster under. At the age of 5, we know there's not really a monster. My 5-year-old knows there's not a monster under his bed. It's an irrational fear. When we get older, we have this fear of losing all of our money in a business. Well, okay, again, if I wanted to go start an airline, yeah, I have no idea about an airline, but that's not the idea that comes in my mind. The idea that I have are on businesses that I have experience in. That's most people watching this. It's the same thing. So you have an irrational fear of what might happen. So realize that the fear is irrational. 2, realize that the risk that people are saying it's not really that much of a risk. Because if it's something that you know, something that you love, if you ask yourself consistently how you can do it better, and if you plan it out, you are much more likely to succeed than you are to fail. So where's the real risk? And so we have to get over this irrational fear and understand what risk really is. Risk is stepping out and doing something we're not used to. It's not risk losing all of our money and losing our family and our house, because we're never going to put ourselves in that position anyway. So to me, that's what I would tell people watching, is to realize that fear is irrational and realize that the risk really isn't the risk you think it is.
Love it.
Totally. Wow. By the way, and I want Alyssa's, because being earlier in her career, I'm curious how you apply this, but I just have to give a shout out. Amy Peace, if you're still on, Amy dropped this. There's some great comments, by the way, fabulous commentaries here. But I love this. And this is what Amy wrote. I have purchased more than 100 copies and used them with clients in terms of my book and business owners throughout Northeast Wisconsin. They make great gifts. And Amy, like we had texted a little bit earlier today, I want to say publicly for the world, I adore you. You are a sweetheart. You are passionate about entrepreneurialism, and you help entrepreneurs so much. So if you're listening, mwah. So just in case, I didn't want that to go unnoticed. So that's for Amy and all of you guys. Loving the commentaries. Great.
Hey, by the way, Amy probably should get some royalties, because that's right. A lot. That's pretty amazing. Absolutely. That's pretty amazing.
Amy is a rock star. I adore Amy. She has some of the what I call some of the Midwest humility, but I got her over that this afternoon. We had a little bit of a text festival back and forth. And so, Amy, you'll be getting my thank you very shortly. So, over to you, Alyssa. I'm very curious how Alyssa, did you freeze? Oh no, there you are. It looks like you froze for a split sec. So what I'm curious is, I'm curious from, so you from your viewpoint in terms of the factor of risk and implementing it as and how you address it, ignore it, or whatever with regard to growth, and how some with regard to what someone that they could use for 2021.
In their business or personally, or?
You know what? As far as I'm concerned, it could be anything, because I'm a firm believer. If you're all in life, that will impact business. It will impact family. It will impact relationships. So I don't compartment them very much. I just go all in for everything. Because so it all wins. But that's me. But however you want to answer it.
So for me, I really like the idea of give freely, and I really like the idea of the more you give, the more you get. So it's not just in business, but in anything. And this wasn't my idea. This was your idea, David. So you had said, don't get away from digital communication. So one of the things that I've really, really tried to implement is talking in person with someone or talking on the phone and like getting out of my computer, right? Because one of the things that again, just sort of going back to like, you're not trying to like ignore people, but it's just like you've got your tasks and you just sort of like get lost. And so to me, I would say talk with people, give. And so, you know, one of the things I love about Gruno is that we really, really love like forming and maintaining relationships within the company and then also with our customers too. So and I think that's a huge differentiator for any business really, is being able to like have these really good working relationships. So I would say for 2021, keep like just the more you give, the more you're going to get back. And not like in a selfish way, but it just sort of like snowballs, right? So like the more you talk with people, the more you just like exchange ideas, the more it grows and grows. So, you know, obviously I should say obviously this because I'm younger. I'm earlier in my career.
It's obvious.
It's pretty obvious.
You're old.
It's not that obvious. It's not that obvious. I feel extremely young.
Young at heart. It's just a number, right, David? So to me, that would be my advice, because it's really worked for me just within the last few weeks. That when you told us to do that, I've really, really tried to implement that, and I've seen a huge change in just like how I think about my own job, how I think about the company, how I think about a lot of things. It's just to like throw your phone out the window, don't do that. I'm just saying, like, put it aside and talk with people. And I know that's really hard, especially with COVID, but it's made such a huge difference, difference.
What you're saying is actually very important. And I punch it up to say, if someone wanted to make literally a complete change on their career for 2021, and what Alyssa is referring to is, I said, guys, keep a tally of how much of your communication is like, because we're all really busy, right? We're all busy. How much of your communications are digital? That means social media, texting, emailing, all that kind of stuff, compared to picking up a phone, speaking to someone, jumping on a Zoom, talking with someone. And if you monitor that and you start to balance it out, because a lot of us are leaning heavily on the digital. Oh, it's quicker, it's efficient, But trust me, you know what we all hate? We all hate calling up a store and having to go through that stupid menu tree and go through 10 minutes. By the time we get a live person, we want to kill them. Say, oh, you wanted to speak to me, right? We hate. And so that efficiency was put in by a freaking COO, an operations person. So those efficiencies dehumanize us. Humanize more to connect more. You do that, you will change a lot, because you will stand out in 2021. Hands down, that is a game changer right there.
By the way, on that note, I think that, and you may bring up a really good point. You know, up until this point, we've been trying to figure out how to automate processes, how to make things quicker, simpler, more efficient. And in doing so many times we have taken out the human element that really makes people happy in the end. And I think because we have had to been so far apart with COVID, that is exactly what's going to change in 2021. The idea that we want efficiency, but we want human efficiency. And I was telling someone the other day that, and it was on this very topic, and how do we do business in a world that doesn't want to be sold? How do we do it? And my answer was, well, we need to be more like the Rotary Club. So if you've ever been part of Rotary, it's not the Chamber of Commerce. Chamber of Commerce, you stand up and tell everybody about the business you have and how you have a great deal this week. Come by. Rotary, you go and you don't sell anything. You go and you give back to the community. And by the way, most people with Rotary sell a ton, and they do a ton of business because they have gotten to know people on a personal level in the communities that they're supposed to be serving. Think about it. If you start a business in a city, or in a little town, you do all this work to get the business up and going, but you forget one thing. You forget to serve the community that you expect to serve you. And so We can't forget that. We can't forget that. All the marketing in the world won't replace our need for the community support. If we want that community support, we've got to get out and give them support. And so,
but what you're talking is about it's actually slowing down enough to pay attention.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like, so we're so on, it's so, and it's like, and you can be on freaking full throttle. You can be in full throttle, and which I know. I mean, you're like a freaking madman. You're always on full throttle. But the thing is, slowing down enough to just take note, to give, to receive.
What you guys are talking about here, it's it can go quite deep too, which is fine. But from my perspective, this is actually a law of the universe. Like, the more you give, Alyssa, you said it, the more you get. It sounds so simple, right? We've heard this since we were kids. But try it sometime, folks. Like, actually try to give more than normal. Look how your days will change. Look at the doors that will open. Look, things will happen for you when you give. It's just a law of the universe. And I can only say that because I've experienced it, and I connect with people like David, like Joshua, like Alyssa, who are doing it. And you'll be surprised too. Once you start doing it, you'll start connecting with people that are similar to you, that are also givers. And there's no, it's a really, really powerful thing. I love the Rotary analogy, Joshua. That's awesome. We do love chambers of commerce too, but the point is so well taken. I did want to spend just a couple of minutes talking about David Breyer's masterclass, because that program is changing lives, literally. Alyssa, you could talk to it firsthand. But David, please give a brief overview about your masterclass. It's basically that book in back of you coming to life. It's like an amusement park. That book is like, you open it up and you get 9 weeks of Brier on video, interactive, as well as modules every single week. And I can't say enough about it. Oh, one more thing before I forget, because this is really important for 2021. Think about your network and doing some partnerships. I interviewed David Breyer on my podcast. Today, we're business partners. I talk to David as much as I talk to my wife, literally, and I love it. I mean, it's been a great thing. But think about that, folks. Think about your network, who you could partner with on different business ventures, because when you connect with someone at a deep level, you could really go places with it. And if you get someone like Brier on your side, oh my gosh, he's like the godfather. He's like my uncle. Go ahead, David.
Well, actually, it's funny that you should mention that, because I literally just got a text. I'm not BSing you. I just got a text from a client of mine that sells a very high ticket item. I'm talking $250K and up, and they're a new company. We completed their branding. They just closed their first purchase. They got their signed agreement, and it's like, yeah, baby. And so I just love it. It's awesome to bring this kind of life. Good. Now go to the masterclass, which is really a hybrid between a masterclass and a mentorship, because there's the Saturday morning Zoom calls, which are very live, very dynamic. And the key thing is I've done some courses by some online programs by the big names. I'll leave it at that. I found that what happened was, at the end of those, that I was ending up as clueless at the end as in the beginning. The only difference is now I had what I called educational souvenirs, right? I mean, I'm like, oh, okay, I got their swipe files, I got their templates, I got these formulas, I got their this is their that, and they were all little hacks, but they never explained, why am I doing what I'm doing? Why is it working? Because if I don't understand why it's working, how the hell can I navigate? How can I sort it out? How can I go, it's not hitting the way it should? So without that understanding, my whole thing is different. I'm not here to throw knowledge at your crap. I'm here to build certainty upon certainty upon certainty. And the course isn't about you getting more of me. The course is built around you getting more of you, because I found that all of these programs where they failed is they overlooked the most important of a program, the most important part, and that was you. And they made it all about them and their knowledge and their little trick and their little thing that made them $1 million, from Friday morning to Monday night, and all this kind of BS, blah, 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 blah. And that's fluff, the wrong metric. So I built it around you. I built it around knowledge. I built it around you not being more dependent on me, but you being more independent to think for yourself, not to think more like me. You need to think more like yourself. And these are very, very clear distinctions. And it is 9 weeks of high intensity. And I love, Alyssa said, it's like, this is not for the faint of heart. That was what she wrote about, which I loved. And that was like, it was great because it's not. I push you, not inappropriately, but I push you because, and man, it's like, there were miracles that occurred during this masterclass. Miracles. I mean, one of our clients just got, I wish I knew at Melissa's point in her career what she learned over the last 9 weeks. Holy mackerel, would I have made different decisions in my career. And so she's got such a foundation. And then, one of our other alumni closed a $60,000 project because they reinvigorated a client that had been in hibernation. They just by applying one principle, all of a sudden it was like the bang, 60K, right? Another one closed a client from who had already secured a contract for $170,000 with another vendor. After learning about value versus price, they ended up choosing these guys for $212,000 versus the 170 contract. They canceled and terminated the $170,000 contract, chose them instead for a higher price. But these are the kinds of miracles that were happening. And it's not just about money, but I mention those because it just allows you to see, this isn't just, you don't need motivational speeches. I don't believe in motivational speeches because that means that my words are going to have some wonderful power over you. BS. I believe in the power of you. My whole job is to give you back you. That's the entire premise of the masterclass. That's what I'll say about it.
Love it. Well, look, guys, this has been great. We are a little bit over our time, but just such great content here tonight. I thank you all very much. But before I let everyone go, Alyssa, if you could let people know how they could reach you, the best way to contact you if they're interested in connecting.
Sure. They can just send me a message on LinkedIn. That's totally fine. I'm sure they're all watching on here, so that would be great.
Awesome. Joshua, what's the best way for people to reach out to you?
If you don't have like one of those Dove messenger carrier things where you can tie on it. No, LinkedIn. Joshua W. Desha. You find me on LinkedIn. My ugly mug is all over the place, unfortunately, for some people. That's the best place to get me. I really appreciate being on here. By the way, Roger didn't get to talk enough, I don't think. I think the three of us, we kind of monopolized it. Roger, by the way, if you're not following Roger, you should, because Roger is freaking fantastic. Roger is one of the best guys that you would ever meet. And you will grow by knowing Roger. So, by the way, while he's trying to pimp our LinkedIn profiles and everything else, you need to go to Roger and connect with him.
Thanks so much.
And do you see what Josh just did? He gave back freely because it was just there. Leaders give. Leaders give. Leaders open doors. Leaders open eyes. Leaders open minds. Leaders open hearts. If you just know that, bam, you're freaking unstoppable. Know that that's what you're doing. And by the way, Roger, I don't want you to lose. Dawn Marie says, do you guys have a membership link? Dawn Marie, I just so that you actually can reply to her. But that's the thing. Continue to open minds. Continue to open eyes. Continue to open hearts. You do that, you're going to have more friends, more allies, more ambassadors than you can ever shake a stick at. Because Amen. I mean, look at these guys. I mean, Roger is giving of himself, Alyssa's giving of herself, Joshua's giving of himself, and I'm just here for the ride. Okay, so there you go.
David, I know if people are probably living under a rock or a dinosaur bone if they're not following David Breyer, but if people want to get in touch with David Breyer, Josh, how do they reach you? Is that
Well,
a right answer?
you could certainly reach for me. You can certainly reach for me on LinkedIn, or you can go to my website, risingabovethenoise.com, RASING, risingabovethenoise.com, and there's tons of content, lots of stuff there. So definitely check that out.
And tomorrow's Wednesday, right?
1 Minute Wednesdays dropping tomorrow.
1 Minute Wednesdays.
1 Minute Wednesday. Oh, I have the most killer article. If you're not already subscribed, go to risingabovethenoise.com tonight. Subscribe, because I'm dropping tomorrow morning. This 1 Minute Wednesday is going to grow you a new limb. You know, whatever limb you want. You know, I don't know, if maybe like, 2 arms aren't enough. I need to get more done. Okay, good. So maybe you grow a third one. But the thing is it's gonna do something for you.
Awesome. Joshua, David, Alyssa, thank you so much for being here tonight. Everyone, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week, same time, 6:30 Eastern Standard Time, and have a wonderful evening.
You guys rock. Love you all.